Just another brief video about why the Bible gospel accounts are not literal history. This is in regard to this time Jesus' birth and coming up to Christmas time. I think this is quite topical. Driving around, we often see at this time of year and afterwards the scene depicting Christ's birth. I've forgotten the wording for it now. But we often conflate or mix up two different accounts. One where the shepherds are in the fields at night and the angels appear to them declaring the birth of the Son of God, and where the wise men or magi from the east come to visit Jesus and give him gifts of gold, frankincense and myrrh. These two different accounts in the two synoptic gospels, which feature a birth narrative of Jesus. Mark doesn't include this, but Matthew does and Luke does, and they're both different. So let's have a look at Matthew chapter 2, and it's the running head here is the visit of the wise men. And it says here, "Now after Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea, in the days of King Herod the king, behold, wise men from the east came to Jerusalem." So this is talking about an occurrence or an event that happened after Jesus' birth. And it's speaking of it occurred in the days of Herod the king. Now, if you look up and do a quick search about Herod the king, you'll find that Herod the Great, king of the Jews, died in 4 BCE. So this means that this event would have had to have happened, obviously, before 4 BCE, meaning that Jesus' birth could have been 6 BCE if this event where Herod tried to kill Jesus happened just before his death. So keep that in mind now, because the birth date of Jesus is something that's debated among Christians as to that they try to pinpoint what year, but it's very difficult. So it's not only the time of year that is not exactly known, although that can be pinpointed a bit more exactly according to the account in Luke anyway, and what the weather was like of that time when shepherds were out of doors at night. It would have had to be, the warm time of year. But the actual year he was born is a problem as well, which I didn't realise in the past. So keep in mind that Jesus, according to this account, would have had to have been born because he was a young child when he was visited at this time. So he had to be born before 4 BCE, let's say 6 BCE, because Herod went on to kill all the children that were around 2 years of age. So keep that year in mind, 6 BCE, and we'll go to Luke. Luke is the other synoptic gospel that has a birth narrative. And here it says, "In those days a decree went out from Caesar Augustus that all the world should be registered. This was the first registration when Quirinius, was governor of Syria." Okay. Now, if you look up about this Quirinius, governor of Syria, you'll find that this could not have occurred until after 6 CE, because Quirinius became governor of Syria around that time in 6 CE. So this means that there is a 10-year difference between when Luke says Jesus was born and Matthew. Matthew says he was born, it works out to potentially 10 years before Luke does. Now, some Christian apologist websites say that this is because Quirinius may have held the seat of governor before this time, and So this was the second time he held it. But when you look at the evidence for that, it's quite a weak argument. So this is quite a big contradiction when you think about it. No wonder there's problems in pinpointing the year of Jesus' birth. This shocked me when I first saw it, because when we used to study the gospel accounts as Jehovah's Witnesses, we studied them in one lump. And in the book called The Greatest Man Who Ever Lived, which is a story about Jesus, in chapter 5 of that book, it doesn't go into the contradiction. It just looks at the whole story of Jesus in one lump. Chapter 5, Jesus' birth, where and when. Now, the scriptures this is based on is, if I get it to focus, Luke chapter 2. All right, so this is the where the shepherds are in the fields at night and they get told by the angels of the arrival of Jesus. Now, if you look at chapter 7 in the book, it looks at this incident that happened a couple of years later when Jesus was an infant. You can see him pictured here as an infant. And this was supposedly during the reign of Herod the Great, King of the Jews. And you can see it's taken from Matthew chapter 2. And when you read those stories in that book, there's no mention of this contradiction. So it's quite interesting that many Christians are probably unaware of these contradictions because the wool is being pulled over their eyes. So this really confirms to me this and many other examples in the scriptures that the Bible, in particular the Gospels which we're looking at, they are not literal history. They are in no way to be taken as literal history, but rather they're just accounts which are portraying a teaching about Jesus, the miracle-working Son of God. And so it would be foolish to take them literally and to base, approach the Bible in that way. So that's just something I've learnt. Feel free to comment on any other information you've found about these things. And this is just one of many contradictions in the gospel accounts about Jesus. So it still doesn't take away the brilliance of these accounts. Whoever was able to come up with these stories, these narratives about Jesus, was absolutely brilliant. But they are not literal history. They're more in the line of mythological stories or fables, if you like. So feel free to comment and like and share this video if you enjoyed it, and I'll see you again next time.